Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to yet another episode of Luminary Lounge, where we learn from lives well lived. I'm your host Murali here, and I have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Pratap Reddy, IPS. He was the Director General of Police for Internal Security for the state of Karnataka, an engineer who rose to become one of the top police leaders of this country. In his 32 years of service, Mr. Reddy led big changes. He helped start new ways to fight cybercrime. He served as the director of NASSCOM. He was the commissioner of the Bangalore city during tough and challenging times. He received the President's Medal for Distinguished Service. What makes him special is how he stays calm during crisis and using technology to make policing better and lives better, all while caring deeply for people around him. Today we'll hear stories, insights, wisdom from his life, a leader who has shaped modern policing in India. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. And it's a privilege and honor to be sharing some of my experiences. At the outset, as you rightly said, 32 years in policing, we were trained to handle tough situations. And I hung up my boots about a year back, so the stress was off. But today I think, again, I am under the arc lights and possibly a little stressed because we are trained not to face cameras, but I think challenges that we face in the field. So with that disclaimer, possibly I would like to see that we would share some of our journey, learnings, and what all we have seen. As I said, policing is a tough job. It's 24/7, stressful, and most of the times what we do is try to anticipate crisis, prevent it, and when crisis happens, we try to address it. This is one job sometimes looks thankless, particularly under dire circumstances. I think as leader in this 32 years of journey, we ensured, personally at my own level, what we saw is the teams that worked under us are properly empowered and they worked, and we ensured always they punched above their weight. They delivered what is meant to be public service and bring in kind of confidence in the public that here is the police team that is there to serve. Maybe I would like to compliment Karnataka State Police, particularly if you have read the news yesterday, the India Justice Report, the report has been released and Karnataka figures among the top 3 police services in the country. And this is for the consistently 3rd year that Karnataka State Police figures in the top 3. I think we all contributed and possibly we played a little role in that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for joining us. And just to start the conversation, I know you're not in your police attire, which makes it easy for me to talk as well, because I would have been a little bit pressurized if you were in your police attire. But is there a particular moment in this 32 years of journey where beyond uniform, there is a particular incident or a moment which actually tells us more about who you are at heart?
It would be difficult to pinpoint and say. Possibly I would share some anecdotes as we go forward.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think ensuring that as a leader, you make your teams perform at their optimum. I think that is the role of a leader, to ensure that. And I did consciously work on that to ensure that my teams and the delivery of services that they rendered was top notch in most of the circumstances.
Thank you. I think, as you said, we will probably explore the anecdotes as we go. But as a tradition with our podcast, we start looking into what childhood was like with all the eminent people that we have been kind of having conversations with. So, going back to your childhood, is there a particular incident or a particular memory that comes back to you which later shaped this dedication, this wanting to serve people and go into a IPS and police force? Is there any specific moment?
I think all of us come from families which deeply influence us.
Yes.
I don't think very few people would be kind of self-made, able to say that, okay, this is my own way of doing it and this is what I achieved. Possibly entrepreneurs in their business can say that, but particularly the initial stages when you choose your career and particularly when you come into services like this, I think the influence of the family is at the top.
Yes.
And my father and my mother, the parents, my father worked with government in Andhra Pradesh. He commenced his journey in the job at a very low level, rose to become an agricultural officer by the time he retired. And he was always very passionate about public service and particularly rendering his job and with honesty and dedication. And today he's 87, still he's very, very active in doing what he likes, going out and working for senior citizens, pensioners, and going around meeting people. I wish I could be as active as him if I possibly reach that stage.
I'm sure you will.
Reach that stage. So he used to work in one of those very remote areas near Visakhapatnam, Paderu. It is near Araku Valley, where the Araku coffee has become very famous nowadays.
Yes.
So it is a tribal area in 80s. My father used to work there, very extremely remote area, where even traveling to that place would need many, many hours with only 2 buses in a day going there. And there, for his field work, most of the time it would be on his foot, or many a times it would be a 4-wheel jeep, sometimes in some of the motorable areas. So I used to go for my holidays because there was no school there. Yeah. So my sister and myself, we used to study near Guntur. So for holidays we used to go, and this place being a tribal region, there used to be Integrated Tribal Development Agency office there, where young IAS officers used to get posted, IPS officers were there, and forest officers. So my father being one of those officers, it's a very small community. There was no social gathering that was possible except these officers who used to meet. So I had an opportunity very early to see some of these senior government officers being there and how they work. Possibly that must have influenced me in deciding and trying to come and take a decision at a later stage. Though I never recalled that I ever decided at that stage that I wanted to be one like them.
I think it is something that deeply gets ingrained in us as a child.
Maybe it's somewhere under the layers, but
Yes,
never.
yes. So slowly you're working towards it as you grow.
I don't think it was there very explicitly doing that. So he came back, and so that was always there, looking at them and the way they perform and what they do, their job, and under very tough circumstances. Electricity used to be few hours in a day, no running water, and extremely cold, no heaters like today and all that. So it was very, very tough circumstances they used to live.
Now, coming to your engineering, sir. Now, you studied in Guntur, you did engineering. Now, as probably was the norm during those days, people would go to the US, finish engineering, and then write your GRE and TOEFL, and then go to engineering. What made you take up IPS? Because that again is a crossroad that you would have come to, and there would have been, I'm sure, pressure to kind of choose to go abroad. But there is something again which made you switch to IPS. And what was that? Is there anything there as a story
It
or
was more
reason?
of an accident. I don't know. So it's more of an accident in the sense like when I was in my final year engineering, I wrote the common admission test for Indian Institute of Management. And I went up to interview and the group discussion. I couldn't get my admission that year. So I came back and picked up a job in AP Agricultural University as a junior scientist. And one of my thoughts was to go in and write the exam next year. So I did well in my common admission test. Possibly I was thinking that I would do one more attempt and try to go for MBA next year. That was the stage at which my sister's classmate, who was writing civil services, he happened to come home and we were talking, and then he suggested, why don't you attempt civil services instead of writing an MBA exam?
Okay.
That is how. So Mr. Srinivas, so he got into IAS Kerala cadre. So he was instrumental in encouraging me and telling me that write the exam and give an attempt and see what happens. And like they say, rest is history. I wrote the exams and got selected into IPS. And it's another story that once I got into IPS, like it was my father who felt more elated than anybody else, because with all the officers with whom he worked, he could identify his own son with them.
That is true. So here you're talking about a failure of an exam, which later led to a decision, which, as you said, is again history.
Yeah.
So very, very important probably for youngsters to realize that sometimes what life actually gives you might be an indication towards something big.
That is, I think, in all our Indian popular sayings also, it is always there, whatever happens is for your best.
That is true, sir.
So possibly that is there.
Was there anything in your mind when you joined IPS which later evolved to becoming anything else, like a thought or an ideal that you actually looked up to?
Again, as I said, the ideals were again its long imprints that were there with you, like looking at your parents. Because I think your whole world revolves around your family and parents and what they were doing. It's a very close-knit family, and our outlook was not very big, in the sense we are from a very lower middle class family, and your traveling was much less, and your exposure to schools was much less. And I went to a government school. I studied my 10th in Telugu medium and 12th in Telugu medium, and then from there I went on to join an engineering. So your language skills were much less, and your outlook as well was much less. So from these circumstances, when we went in, it's all the whatever you got the feedback and or goading from your parents, I think that remained largely at heart, and I'm thankful to them, because I think one of the biggest lessons they kept on telling is nothing more than hard work with integrity. So these two, I think beyond this, there is nothing else that compares. So you should be extremely hardworking, which I did, because there were many more intelligent students and friends who wrote and part of my school and studies who could not succeed as much as I did. But they were far more successful outside of the other careers what they did. But when we attempted the same kind of exams, though they were much more brilliant and much more endowed with many more skills, I think my hard work made the difference, and that is how.
I'll come back to a question later in the conversation, sir. It's about integrity, but that is something that I would love to explore a little bit later in the conversation. But having had the influence of culture, language of two different states, having grown up in Andhra, but having served most of your career in Karnataka, how has this shaped your thinking?
I think, as I said, after my 12th, now let me take you back a little, because I think I was more comfortable in adjusting to new environment. That is one which I learned little harder way when I went for my engineering and I went to Maharashtra.
Okay.
In 1981 to join my engineering when I got my admission. And when I went there to join, the only language I knew was Telugu. I landed up in a place called Akola,
Okay.
where I got my admission.
Okay.
It's a Marathi language, so Marathi is the language that is spoken there.
Yeah.
Then little bit of Hindi as well.
Yeah.
And the college, the teaching was in English.
Okay.
None of the three languages I knew. And I went with very high marks and joined the college, and the teachers and everybody started wondering, like, is this the guy with these marks came and joined us and performed so badly in his first semester. So from the top 10 percentile of the class, I was in the bottom quartile of the class during my first semester performance.
Was there a specific roommate who helped you through this phase?
It's
Because
like-
I'm sure if you landed with such language issues, I'm sure there were people around helping you.
In fact, that's where I found my brother-in-law.
Oh,
so
is it? Oh,
He
okay.
was studying there at that time. So later he became my brother-in-law. So but he was there, and he was from Andhra Pradesh, and he was the only student in the college from Andhra Pradesh. So he was there to help me, guide me, and tell me like what are the things and all that. Okay. So I adjusted to the culture. I learnt Marathi, I learnt Hindi, and I worked on my skills to learn English language. So that's how I adjusted. So adjusting to a new culture and new environment was not difficult for me, and I was looking forward to it. And as I said, when the allotment to Karnataka came, it was a very, very happy feeling, because I have not gone very far. Because a rank higher, I would have gone to J&K, Jammu and Kashmir, as my cadre.
Okay.
A rank lower, I would have gone to Kerala. And
okay.
so, providence that I got a rank in which I was allotted to Karnataka.
Okay.
And the culture...
We are lucky, I think we should say.
I was lucky. I don't think that we can say somebody is lucky, but I think personally I was lucky. And the culture and language is almost similar.
Yes.
So we used to read the buses which travel from Karnataka to Andhra and Andhra to Karnataka. So almost you can read except the Banco kind of reading. Correct. So little bit when you don't know the Kannada script. Yeah. So we came here, and it has become, one of my seniors used to say, like, from your Janma Bhumi to Karma Bhumi. It is more like that. So from my native state, Andhra Pradesh, we came to Karnataka, and this is our home today.
Very nice.
And so it has been a wonderful journey being in Karnataka. And I think one thing very, very similar is, I think Kannadigas and Telugu, we are almost similar. So there is not much.
Thank you, sir. And when I was going through your profile and researching about you, I initially thought it was only MS Dhoni who was called the Captain Cool. But then I realized that you also called the Captain Cool because of your demeanor, the way you handle crisis, the cool head that you have. Now, was that something which was, by nature that you are like that, or was it nurture that you had to train yourself to remain calm and cool? And is there any particular incident, if that is so, which changed you to becoming this cool person?
It's a very difficult question. If you ask my family if I am the cool captain, they won't agree with you. I wish I had the cool head as well to deal at home. But yes, professionally, I have been extremely careful in dealing with my team and my both superiors and subordinates and working with them. I think as a leader, I think it's very, very essential that an aggressive leader may get results only to a certain extent. I think you need to embrace your team. And you cannot embrace your team unless you are extremely nice to them. Under difficult circumstances, you cannot lose your cool and be angry with them. You need to guide them, goad them to do the tougher jobs. I think this is lessons over a period of time we learned, and also a lot of elders, my training mentors, and even in the academy, they tell you this. But how much we inculcate is very graded. But I have been fortunate that professionally, I was able to remain to a large extent If you ask each and if you take a survey, not everybody would agree. But I think to a large extent, I remained cool. And maybe the ultimate test that there were many instances that have happened. But the biggest I can tell you, was in 2013. That's much later in my service, but many instances we handled well. But this, why I recall is, this was under extreme stress. 2012 December, the Nirbhaya incident happens in Delhi.
Yeah.
And the whole country was extremely angry.
Yes.
They would not like any incident like this to ever get repeated.
Yes.
The laws were modified. The laws were amended to see that aggressors are punished severely. And this happened in December of 2012. June 2013, we had an incident in Manipal. A medical student was kidnapped, taken in auto, gang raped by 3 people. And the incident led to tremendous amount of outcry outside. Why it remained calm is because my teams, like the SP of the district and all other officers who were there, we have been working on the ground to see that how can we ensure that these kind of incidents do not happen.
Yes.
The student community are aware that police have been working relentlessly despite that the crime happened. The university administration, they were aware that police have been working consistently, but despite that incident happened. So I was in Hyderabad. I went for my sister's Griha Pravesham on that day. I reached in the evening. In the middle of the night, the SP gives me a call and tells me, "Sir, this has happened." We knew that it's an extremely serious incident and it can go out of hand as a situation if not handled well. So I skipped the Griha Pravesham, left my family there. I returned next day morning and we were there on the spot in Udupi, Manipal. We worked very hard. It was a very tough case. We worked very hard. A day passed, 2 days passed, no progress could be made. We know at the back of our mind that we are progressing, but we are progressing without any results to show. 3 days have passed, 4 days have passed. I'm cutting short many other things that have happened in between. It's almost like by 7th, 8th day, we could crack the case. All through, the teams under, like the entire police force in Western Range, like from Mangalore, Udupi, Karwar, Chikmagalur, we got officers to work with. We activated many information networks. We have been working technically. We have been working with, on both computers, field level intelligence. All this was happening. If we put any pressure on the teams, it would be dysfunctional. We have to allow them to work, but at the same time keep guiding them how to go about it. We did that, and we ensured that the case was solved meticulously, and subsequently all the 3 got life imprisonment, which is a credit for the investigation, because the proofing of the pudding is in the outcome that happens, particularly with respect to punishment that is rendered.
Yes.
So that is one of the cases, and where we could see that the teams, it is a huge, humongous effort that we undertook.
The way you're describing, it was more like a movie wherein we see all the teams coming together and working throughout 24/7. And the leadership style that you spoke about, the way you remain calm and cool, reminds me more of the motherly love, that a mother would probably look at the child and be the leader, staying close, but at the same time not interfering the growth of the child. Am I right in summarizing it that way?
Absolutely. To a certain extent, I don't know like whether, like I am not a very philosophical or able to get into those kind of things, but largely I would ensure that I try to look at this way. If I am in their position, would I be willing worker or rather I would hate these kind of directions.
Correct. Correct.
This is the kind of question I put to myself, saying that if I give them a deadline saying that this needs to be done by tomorrow morning,
Yes.
I would ask myself that question, saying that if tomorrow somebody comes and my boss comes and asks me saying that you do it by tomorrow morning, is it humanly possible for me to do? Number one. Number two, are there enough resources that have been kept at my disposal
Yes.
to ensure that this work can be carried out? So I think this is how I used to look at when I entrust work or expect outcomes from my officers and men and teams that work. I think that has paid dividends all through.
Sir, and as one of the top leaders in police force, I'm sure you would have seen the best and the worst of human behavior, human values. And how has this shaped your understanding of human psyche, if I can call it, and your own value system? Has it helped or has it changed in any way, seeing people?
That's a tough one in the sense, I think maybe just the news reports in the last 15 days, the cement drum killing of a husband by wife and her, this thing. And I think it happened somewhere in North India, Meerut or somewhere. These kind of extreme
Yes.
cases keep happening.
Yeah.
Police officers come across them. And in some ways, it so happens that some officers actually can get immune to dastardly acts.
Yes. Yes.
So one of the challenges as leader for you is to ensure that can your teams remain sensitive,
Yeah.
empathetic to a person who walks into your police station.
Very well said, sir.
Because what, as you said, like many inhuman, gory instances which you read in the newspaper, those are the things that come to your police station on a daily basis.
Yes, those are things that we are, in fact, many of the doctors, if you see, are scared to, or they don't want to read such news. I have seen that as I see many fellow colleagues, but you are actually seeing these incidents happen and you're seeing the human suffering.
Human suffering,
on
and
a one-to-one basis.
we deal with the worst of the perpetrators.
Yes. Yes.
So is it that, so how can we ensure that your officers and men remain sensitive? They address to those instances. We also come across instances where people go beyond their call of duty and save others. So we see both. As you rightly said, we see both spectrums of human nature.
Human nature.
But being police officers, we tend to see the negative side much more. So we need to be aware of this,
Yeah.
and constantly we need to bring back your team. Suppose if there is a person who may be an extremely well-meaning and well-intentioned officer, but if the behavior of that officer sometimes looks odd to the victim, it is not a very pretty sight. I would not like to be in that victim's place and be at the receiving end from an insensitive officer, even momentarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is where, again, the contributions of leaders, how they guide their teams, what they do, needs to be seen, and we need to work on that.
This is probably something very specific to your profession as a police officer, because it wouldn't be the same as a software engineer or a leader of a software engineer team or any other industry for that matter, because you are directly dealing with, as you said, a victim of a crime, and being insensitive might come across as something very inhuman. So I think as a leader, what you rightly said, it's very important to spot this early and then take the corrective action.
Again, I keep telling my officers, how do we place the victim in their right position so that they don't become a kind of what you say. I am not getting the exact word. What does it say? Because whenever a major crime, like take for example the Manipal or gang rape case, the victim becomes news. There are people who would like to interview, talk, and offer sympathy. And genuinely, there are many people who are concerned.
Yeah.
But what we ensured is right on the day one, we said there would only be 2 or 3 designated officers who will deal with that victim, and nobody else shall go and talk to them. And for your information, I don't know the girl who is the victim, and I haven't met her. Because while I guided the investigation, I ensured that the investigation was solved. But I never saw the victim girl ever. Only my SP and an officer designated and another constable was designated. These are the only 3 people who interacted with the victim, and none of us. Because that is not necessary for my job to be done. It is very easy for people to say, okay, did you go and ensure that this has been done? No.
So now we come to a interesting concept which you earlier spoke about, which is integrity. I know many leaders across the world, taking examples of Mahatma Gandhi, Warren Buffett from the investment world, talk about integrity as one of the key attributes for anybody to achieve success truly in life. So coming to your definition of integrity, would you like to tell our listeners as to what integrity is and how do you develop a life of good integrity, especially to the youngsters listening to us?
Again, as I said, I'm not a very articulate or in that sense, but the way I look at, again, I try to look things in a very simple manner. I believe that if I function and do my work in a particular way, everybody around you knows how you are doing the job. I don't have to certify myself saying that I am a person of integrity.
Yes.
I am a person, I am a born leader, and I am here and I am a great leader, I am trying to do this, and I am an achiever. I think your work speaks for yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Largely all through my journey, it has been a attempt by me to ensure that would my friends and family be proud of what I do? Would they be happy that if I am doing a particular thing, would they be happy? If tomorrow somebody goes back and tells my wife or my kids saying that this is what your dad did, does it make them feel that it is a nice thing, bad thing, good thing? I think this is the simple yardstick I followed in my life, I think, and I'm pretty okay with that. Beyond this, I don't have too many definitions and attitude and questions to offer saying that how do you maintain integrity and what it is. Secondly, whenever I come across my officers or subordinates who deviated from a particular path which is not acceptable, I always ensured that they were called, made to sit with me in private, and I told them what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what I like, what I don't like. And it worked. It worked all through. That's it.
And just an add-on to that same question is, how do you identify somebody with good integrity? Now, if you are to be on a selection panel and you have people coming in for an interview, or it could be even somebody you want to associate yourself with. You would want to associate yourself with somebody with good integrity, good ethical values. How do you identify this person?
It's very tough to do that. It's very tough to do that. Because I think all of us have our dark secrets. It's very tough for people to say that. I think only it is possible if somebody is certified. Suppose an officer worked with me for 10 years. And with me, he has been outstandingly good
Yes.
all through.
Yeah.
I would certify to that extent, saying that he has been with me for 10 years and he has been this. And you also know largely that some people are beyond approach. They are too good.
Yes.
So that would be top 10 percentile.
Yeah.
And then extremely deviant behavior, there would be bottom 10.
So,
But
yeah,
the
the
remaining
outliers,
80,
yes,
the
yeah.
80 is the challenge for you. Identifying the top performers, like whether be it in the profession of medicine or any other profession, be it public services, politics, civil services, identifying the top 10, these are very good. So this particular officer is very good, this particular, our MLA is outstanding and he would do this. It's very, very easy for us to identify. Like suppose, like why people go in search of a particular doctor.
Yes.
They say that he's outstanding.
Yes.
And also, the bottom 10% saying that, okay, like they would say straight away, they would, with disdain, they would say, no, there is no problem, nothing would happen if you go there.
Yeah.
But the remaining 80% is the challenge. I think we need to have a constantly looking at the performance. What gets measured is
Outside.
so can be seen,
Parameters, yes.
parameters. So if we can measure something, it is fine. Otherwise, we rely upon feedback mechanisms from others and try to look at it. But again, I don't have a ready-made answer to say that can I identify somebody with high integrity? I cannot.
It's tough. It's tough. So coming from the technological perspective, now we'll move a little bit away from the leadership styles and integrity as we were talking. You were an engineer. You moved into the police force when technology was going through major changes, as in 90s, and the computers were coming in a big way. We saw the internet coming in late 90s, and of course we know from 2000s onwards, the growth has been exponential when it comes to technological changes. How have you maintained to keep yourself abreast with what's happening, also ensuring that you bring in the latest when it comes to police force and law and order?
I think like both of us are in the same kind of time frame, like 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010. So we saw the transistors and radios. And I saw the first color television installed in our university hostel when Asian Games came in.
Yes, 82.
82. Then subsequently we saw the computers coming in. And I got it in 1997. I was posted in Bangalore. The first computer in my office I saw was 80286 with a princely 4 MB RAM and 128 MB hard disk.
And connecting to the internet with that
Dial-up modem. Dial-up modem is much later. You have that. Then you have the mobile phones coming in late 90s.
Yes.
The smartphones are 2005 onwards. And now you have what all like, so this computer carries like 1,000 computers of 1997, this iPhone.
Yeah.
So all this technology has been changing, and with that, what all happened is the administration as well adapted. The governance changed. A lot of initiatives in government were computer based. And today India is one of those pioneer countries where particularly with the UPI payment system, we are among the top notch nations which uses technology for monetary transactions, which no other country where you go onto the street side and buy a dozen of bananas and pay the vendor with a UPI payment, which is like, but it brought in with it humongous challenges with respect to crimes, policing, use of technology by criminals, which necessitated police as well to quickly keep on upgrading the skills.
Yeah.
So in a way it allowed us to keep on abreast. So, but it was a very gradual, it's not a very quantum leap kind of, though quantum leap is happening now, it's much more.
Yeah.
But as we saw in 80s, 90s and 2000s, it's actually the pace was much easier for people like me. I'm not the smartest. I may work little better than do a little hard work, but even for people like me, I was able to understand and keep pace with the developments. But today's pace is far, far faster and humongous. So what we did is we tried to learn as leaders and identify the resources. And here it is much more easier. Like you said, people with integrity, it's very difficult to identify, but people with technical aptitude and talent, it was easier. So we were able to identify the officers and men who have that aptitude towards technology and train them. And we ensured that they were made part of the teams that worked in investigations. And today, there is no crime detection that doesn't have technology involved in it.
Can you give us an example, sir?
Any case, whatever, like again, we go back to say, again, let me take, because there is a convicted case. See, any case which is pending court decision would not like to discuss. So the same. So we, tons of data, the mobile data, tons of CCTV footages, we analyzed while investigating that case.
Okay.
And we had the tools, and fortunately we invested in the tools. In those days, I remember like very early, there was the only district which had an analyst notebook. That was a software of very high capability in those days. So we bought it, we trained, our team was able to work on that. So we could quickly analyze the tons of data in those days. Today, again, that particular tool looks nothing.
Yeah. And coming to cybercrime, as you rightly mentioned, you were one of the first police leaders to introduce a lot of cybercrime related innovative measures to control it. And also you were in the NASSCOM advisory committee and you served as a director there. And during those days, was anything there that kept you up at night? Like, you would be worried that this could cause a major disaster or this could cause a lot of issues?
See, again, here giving credit to Karnataka government and Karnataka state police. If you remember, Karnataka state was the first state in the country which established the first cybercrime police station way back in 2001.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were instrumental in that.
I was not. At that time, I was not. I was with CBI in those days.
Okay.
But it was established here in Bangalore.
Okay.
That was the first cybercrime police station. Then from there, you may have seen the news about a week back. Karnataka is the first state where they said there will be a cyber command headed by a DGP rank officer to deal with the extraordinarily fast-paced cyber crimes that are happening all across Karnataka. The number of crimes, the growth in the crime rate with respect to cyber crimes is almost tenfold when compared with the traditional crime as on today.
Tenfold?
Tenfold. Speed, the growth in the growth.
Yeah.
So 10 or even, actually that figure may be higher because I don't have the figures, and so it would be much higher. So ours is the first state to establish this cyber command, and where a DGP rank officer and there is a teams, and each district has a cybercrime police station which would be handling this. This has been there. Then going back when you referred that between 2009 to 12, I went on deputation from state government. I worked with the National Association of Software and Services Companies and Data Security Council of India as Director of Cybersecurity. The primary contribution that was expected from my side was to how to build capacities to handle cyber crimes, both within government and also the private sector, how the response systems can be. So as part of the government capacity building, what we did is we established cyber labs, which train police officers, judiciary, and prosecutors. So we had a cyber lab in Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, Calcutta, and Gurgaon. So we established this, and over 13,000 people were trained in those days. And again, those numbers look very small today looking back, because the number of people that needs to be trained is much, much higher today. We established that we brought out the first cybercrime investigation manual for use by law enforcement officers. We did that. So in those days, it was not the kind of digital arrest what you read and
We are
the
seeing a
kind
lot
of
of that.
deep fakes that what we see, but they are more mundane and more prime credit card frauds and email spoofing, phishing, these kind of frauds, which were little low tech when compared with today. But in those days, again, like as we keep handling, they were of challenge in those days.
And is there any particular case or any incident that comes to your mind where technology proved pivotal in the handling of the case or solving the case? You said that you can discuss cases which actually have been solved, but is there anything there?
There are many, but I believe the Bangalore City Police press reports and briefings by commissioner would give much more that is happening as on today. The social media feed of Bangalore City Police would give, but I think without technology today, there is absolutely no way. Like yesterday, I think what I was reading in the newspaper, because what comes in the newspaper I can quote, but not a case which I have done, which is pending in the this thing. I was reading, I think, some news. I went home to Guntur, and there was a pastor who who found dead on a roadside with a on his motorcycle. So he was traveling on a motorcycle and he was found dead. There were a lot of controversy regarding whether he was killed or this thing. I was listening to the press briefing by the Inspector General of Police in Andhra Pradesh. They analyzed all through the route, about 300 kilometers, hundreds and thousands of CCTV cameras, and they collated, they analyzed this, and they proved that this person, that is, as for the conclusion of the police, they said that this is not no foul play is there. That is what the conclusion they have drawn. But they spoke about how much technology and what they have done and how much mobile forensics and what they have done.
It's very interesting, as you said, sir, the way things are going. We are dependent more on technology. At the same time, technology can be misused to increase the crime, as you said, the tenfold increase. So we'll move a little bit to how your life, when it comes to balancing personal and professional life, has been. And I'm sure it's a big challenge, considering that police officers are 24/7, in service. How do you balance the professional and personal life, or how did you manage to balance both? Is there anything called balance to start with?
The balance part my wife did. Work part I did. I think that's the simple way to tell that. I think without the support and the heavy lifting she does, I don't think I would have been like whatever I have done is possible, because you need your spouse to be understanding, particularly in a job like this.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And there are a number of occasions when we could not, in fact, to tell you, it's very, even today I feel extremely emotional and trying to remember that. It was 1993, November, I was posted as ASP Karkala, Arsikere in Hassan district.
Hassan, yes.
The Shravana Belgola Mahamastaka Visheka was happening. That is a 1,000-year celebration, major one of the mega events. Till that day, I don't think any bigger event happened in Karnataka. The President of India, Vice President, Prime Minister were coming. My wife was in the family way, and our son was expected in January. And all the major events at Mahamastaka Abhisheka was around that time.
Okay.
When my son was born, I could not be there by the side of my wife and to see my son. And I have to be here and attending to the work. And I saw him full 2 weeks after he was born, after the 26th January of 1993 happened. I could travel all the way only after the 26th January and go and see him. I think like this, every police officer, particularly who works in the field, if you ask them, they will have hundreds of stories like this.
It was it was quite emotional to hear that story, and I'm sure, as you said, police officers everywhere, not only in India, I'm sure everywhere in the world, have similar stories.
In fact, it's very, uh, it's quite amazing that these kind of, very recently, 2022, so my son brought in this girl and said, Nana, this is my college mate, and I would like to marry her. And so he said, fine. So then we were to go to their place to talk to their parents and invite them home. So me and my wife went to airport and checked in and in the airport to go to Coimbatore. And the flight is another 1 hour to board. The phone call comes, and I was additionally law and order at the time. There was an emergency, you cannot go. So there was an emergency. It was intimated, so there is no way I could have left.
Yeah.
Because that next 1.5 hour switching off the phone was not an option.
Yes.
And after that, if there is some fallout, I can. So told my wife, like she by this time she is very like understanding, and or rather like reconciled to the fact that these are the things that happen with us. So she said, what to do? If a situation comes, you only have to go, because you look at a particular time and muhurtam, you say that you would like to visit them. So I said, fine. So I told the airport people that, and our bags were packed and a lot of things was intermingled. So the airport people said that, no, if your boarding pass is taken out, your luggage cannot go. But there is no way we cannot segregate.
Yeah.
So we have to use all my connections, and our officers have to go to the airline, talk to them, and ensure that it is taken out, tagged to my wife's luggage, and ensured that both the luggages were sent. Then I came back to office, worked till almost 11:30 in the night, then took a car, all through the night traveled to Coimbatore and caught up with my wife. Fortunately, I was there, but it was a...
So such situations, how do you stay mentally at peace? This is something which I'm sure anybody can use. I'm sure you have your own strategies, hacks, where you know how to get back to that baseline, having been through whatever tough situations, as you might call it, witnessing crimes or dealing with difficult people or dealing with very stressful situations. Is there any hack that you have?
Unfortunately, I don't know. Like, I wish I had one, but maybe I'm not very sure. Can I?
Or is it just your nature that you go back to being your calm?
I don't know. Like, so again, as I told earlier, I think if I cannot be calm, and if I go back to work, possibly I would put the same question to myself, saying that would my personal assistant, secretary at office, why would she be at the receiving end or he be at the receiving end if I go back to office with a foul mood? I think it will be very unfair on my part that I had a bad day, bad night that day, like this.
Yeah.
I go back to office saying that so they have not contributed to this.
Yes.
I don't think I can be angry with them.
That's a wonderful thing to say, sir. I hope more people learn from this, and bosses and leaders across who are listening to this are
I don't. But this is what how I worked. But I don't know. But I wish I had more structured approach to do it, saying that okay, if X happens, I should do Y.
this.
But I didn't have that.
Okay. Now, we will again switch gears from personal life and your life hacks to your role with Anti-Corruption Bureau and CBI. Now, again, insights from your role there. Is there anything regarding corruption that you realized while working in the Anti-Corruption Bureau? which can help our listeners understand what corruption is all about and how can we combat corruption?
This is one challenge I believe. If I can give a sermon or talk about it, I think in India we need to fix this. I have spent 33 years in police as civil servant. I think we failed in ensuring that what we are meant to do, and most of us, every person in every walk of life in India, be it can be citizens, it can be officers, it can be private sector. I'm telling you, I have seen private sector. When I was in NASCOM, I have seen big companies and very senior executives being corrupt. So this is a kind of rot, and this needs to be addressed. And how do we address it? I am not very sure, but the point is it's all like, it's a multi-pronged approach we need to do. One of the fundamental things which we feel is that, I think, inculcating the values. Yesterday a day before Sunday, I was there in Bapatla, where my municipal high school, Bapatla, where the 75th year alumni association meeting was there. I went as a guest, and along with me, there's another very senior professor who is now 84, 85 years old. He was there. He was telling, while addressing the gathering, he said, in Telugu, he said, I don't know the exact translation, possibly I would try to do that. He said, Chaduvu, so only education. Only education is harming the society. When we were children, they used to say, Vidya Buddhulu. So Vidya and Buddhulu, so possibly character, it would mean character. Chaduvu Sandhya. So he said, it's today the focus is only on studies, reading, studies. Along with that, there is no value system that is being inculcated. People would go to any extent to perform better and, like you said, find the hacks to score better.
Yes.
This is like, very funnily, I tell you this story. In 1997, I went as SP of Bijapur in May. By the time the exams were over, so 1998, the SSLC exams have to happen. What is the culture, acceptable culture? In Bijapur, those days, the private schools would register their students to write their SSLC exams from Bijapur district, from Bangalore, from Mysore, whatever places. There will be buses in which students will be brought to that place, and they will be taken to places like Indi, Sindhgi, Almel and all that. They will write the exams. Why? Because mass copying will happen.
So the pass percentage is...
Basically, people would like to have any hack to pass the exam. So it's another matter that we really worked and ensured that year, Bijapur, which used to be the top percentage pass district, came to the bottom. We ensured that the copying doesn't happen. So why I'm coming back to that. So the corruption or unethical means. So these are all not being flagged from the value system, saying that these are not to be encouraged. That is one. Second, I think as a nation, we are obsessed with severity of the laws. When a law is there, suppose, like I said, after Nirbhaya, the law has been amended to make it extremely this thing. Corruption, like this punishment will be so much. Now the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita has come and the punishments. I think instead of the severity of the punishment, I personally believe, I think the certainty of the punishment. Suppose if I commit a crime or mistake, I should pay the price. It is not after 15 years, 12 years that I get acquitted or convicted. It is not the severity of the punishment, the certainty of the punishment. If somebody is certain that you will pay the price for the deviant behavior that you commit today, in quick time, I think that would set right majority of the things. That is one area which, as society, we need to work. A lot of things have happened to reduce corruption, like all these online portals, online permissions, everything that has come. These are all attempts which reduce corruption and interface between public servants and whatever citizen services and all. But lot more needs to be done.
Now, coming to the relationship between police and society at large, have you seen a change in the way the police treat people, people treat police in the last 3 decades of your service? And is there anything that we can do as people in the society to improve our relationship with police? Now, as a police officer, would you want me to change my behavior in any way? Is there any message for the public who are listening to this as to how they can help police better?
A lot of things have changed. When we joined service, it was very, very rustic policing. Technology was not much. People were not aware of their rights as much as they are aware today.
Yeah.
And more than that, the social media democratized the way the information can be broadcasted.
Yes.
Be it the platforms, Facebook, Snapchats, Instagrams, and so basically, so what the change, the transition that has happened all over these years, it happened for the better with respect to rights of individuals, because people today can flag. And 2015, when I was Additional Commissioner of Police here, that is the first time the Twitter handle was created. Ms. M. Reddy was the Commissioner of Police, and the Twitter handle was launched. And today, Bangalore City Police almost have 8 or 10, 12 channels, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, everything. They constantly communicate with the public regarding what is being done and what is. Similarly, people can tag the Commissioner of Police, Bangalore City Police, and similarly the district, the DGP runs a handle, so people can tag and tell them. So people can escalate their expectation and their problem to the senior police functionaries, and which can be addressed.
What about people who cannot access technologies?
Correct. So there, now today the simple telephone call.
Take example, now we're talking about the elderly population. See, I come from Jayanagar and south of Bangalore, where we do have a lot of elderly. So is there any way they can...
Yeah. There are, again, it's the Hoysala system, that is simple phone call to 112 would capture your location and ensure that the police team reaches you. Instead of you going and making numerous number of trips to a police station, the Hoysala team all across, not only Bangalore City Police, all across Karnataka, the 112 Hoysala would reach a citizen. I think in Bangalore City presently, when I was there, it used to be about 13-14 minutes it would reach. Today it must have come, response time, it must have come down drastically. And we introduced in 2017, when I was in the modernization division, we introduced the Hoysala across the state. It used to be about half an hour average time for the response. So ordinary citizens can simply call 112 and they can expect the response to happen, and it is auditable and trailable.
Okay.
So it is traceable. So our people are constantly, there is a team which sits there, which audits the response our people did and traces back the caller and calls them to say that whether the response has been adequate, satisfactory, not satisfactory.
That's wonderful, sir. And I think, as you said, so many changes have happened. People need to understand and bridge those gaps, as the police are also reaching towards them, and the people also should reach towards the police to ensure safer society. Again, I would shift gears a little bit, moving away from policing and technology to your life insights. If you were to be addressing a group of graduates who are graduating today, what 3 insights from your life? I know, again, I'm putting you in the spot because I like doing this, because that is what we want to learn from you today. 3 insights from your life that has guided you, or what is essential for the youngsters now going forward?
I think the one big challenge what I have seen, so it is not my learning, but what I am seeing in the present, I think the mental health concerns, I am extremely worried about the kind of stress and the mental health issues and challenges. Possibly during our times, I don't think that enough education and awareness was there. But today we are more aware of that. I think the mental health challenges and people need to address, and it is not a stigma that we go for help to seek counseling and do that. So this is one area which is not a kind of advice, but I believe as friends to another friend, suppose you look at a friend of yours struggling or doing something, as a youngster, I think it is your job, and all of us need to contribute and ensure that mental health challenges are addressed. Second, maybe take no shortcuts.
That's a very good one. Very good one.
I think shortcuts don't work.
Especially nowadays, we see people trying to go through the trading investment route to make money faster. That is something which I have been observing, and as you said, that's a shortcut to making money. So
trading is a business. Again, if you are a trained trader, I don't know, like, see, again, I know what is trading and what people does, but chasing money in quick way without understanding what trading is, I think they should. So when we say shortcut to success, doing this, or like even for that matter, like, the chat GPT has become so all pervasive.
Yes.
Now, is it possibly it is enhancing creativity of some people, but some people who doesn't want to do hard work, it is ensuring that somebody is able to do what he wants to do without any hard work. So your assignment is done tomorrow.
And you are in turn becoming fragile. Because you're outsourcing.
You are very shallow. You are very shallow. Yes. So you are very shallow. So that
is your second message.
That is second. Maybe I am searching for, because you asked me, I'm trying to search for suggestions. I like, I don't know, maybe ethical behavior. I don't know, like if somebody asks me what do you mean by ethical behavior, I'm not very, but ethical behavior, I think each one of us have our own moral compass.
Yes.
So I think we have to strictly get guided. But again, I think when we call about moral compass, it would be as simple as this, as I said. If I go back home, if I tell my father or mother, one is I'm able to tell them that what all I did.
Yes.
Not that you don't need privacy, like, so you need privacy, you do certain things which like we also did as children. But the point is, would they be kind of proud of knowing some, or rather, would they be
not upset,
distraught?
Yes, distraught, not upset,
knowing something that you have done. So I think if I keep away from something which makes them distraught as a family member or a parent, or one of your close friends, I think that is ethical behavior for me.
And as an add-on to this question, you have seen many people of different walks of life, from, I would say, the poorest to the richest, to the smartest to the, I would say, I wouldn't call them dumbest, but yes, and also of different religious walks. What is that truly matters at the end of the day for a human being? I know I'm going a little philosophical here, but because you have seen all these in your life, what actually truly matters for a human being?
I think people, like again, I can draw from. So if you are compassionate and empathetic, I think that is what makes a difference at the end of the day. Like, would I like to remember, like I walk out of this room, and would I, if somebody enters my room and interacts with me, goes out, what is the taste I leave in the mouth of that person, saying that, is it a pleasant one or unpleasant one? So I think I leave a pleasant taste or a feeling in him. I may not do his job, but I think my willingness to hear him out and give him a decent treatment, talk to him like with compassion and empathy, and take a call, take a decision at the end of the day that what can be done, what cannot be done. Like from a professional perspective, particularly it's like maybe I think this is one area where I improved a little bit over my 32 years of journey is like when I started my career, people could make out saying that if I didn't like something which somebody is making a request, they can make out from my face saying that you are getting angry and you are. Probably as time went by, possibly I would keep quiet and rather maybe I take a call when I. So I think that is what it is.
Sir, it's been wonderful talking to you. I think I'm coming to the end of the conversation when it comes to the questions. But looking back on the 32 years of service, you have been awarded the President's Medal for Service, and I think even the Chief Minister's Medal for Service during the Mahamasta that 93. So there are a lot of accomplishments, but what actually is an accomplishment deep down in your heart in these 32 years of service?
I think accomplishment depends on what your maybe I think your both the seniors and juniors tell what you are. Like you said, the Mahamastaka, I very, very fondly remember this because I think that is what guided me later when I try to recognize my teams which work and which somebody would say that it's an accomplishment by them. But I think it's a kind of, how do you recognize like somebody who has done some extraordinarily good work. So I did whatever this work and my DIG in those days, Mysore, Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, one of the very, very fine officers. He was my boss, Mysore. So I did my assignment in Arsikere.
Yeah.
And immediately after Mahamastaka Abhisheka was done, I was transferred to Karkala.
Okay.
So the place near Mangalore. One day, a phone call comes towards this same 7:38 in the evening, saying that DIG sir would like to speak to you. So Mr. Ajay Kumar Singh was there and he said, Pratap, I urgently need some 10 passport size photographs of yours in ceremonial uniform and ensure that they are sent by morning to my office in Mysore. And you in those days, just I entered the service, I'm hardly not even 6 months, 5 months. So I didn't even ask him a question. So I go and Karkala in those days by 7:38, it's like a sleepy small town. So went and woke up the studio owner and got a photograph done, and then the buses on the Agumbe route gets closed by like after there are no buses. So I ensured that a person was sent on motorcycle to Agumbe. Okay. So from there he carried it to Mysore and delivered it. And later, after a month and a half, and I didn't even ask him a question saying that why. After a month and a half, the announcement comes, I've been awarded Chief Minister's Medal for the hard work and contribution that was done at this thing. I think the accomplishments are something which the people around you, like particularly the superiors, but at the same time, there are many times your conduct certificate is written by your subordinates as well. So the same kind of thing which we did, be it in Bijapur, we had this lawlessness across Bijapur, and we had very major incidents in Ilkal, Mangalore, Karwar, and all the time we ensured that the teams which worked, I was there to do the same what Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh did to me, asking them, calling them and saying that, okay, these are the names that needs to come and you have done the hard work. Possibly these are the...
Very nice, sir, very nice. And going forward, I'm sure the 32 years, if we look at the amount of work and service that you've done, you will not stay silent. I'm sure you have already plans on what to do next and you're going to keep yourself busy. So can we hear a little bit about what your plans are going forward?
Not at completely, but the thing, one plan which I surely accomplished in the last 1 year is spending time with my family
I'm sure they're very
and
happy.
keeping in touch with all my friends and going. And the other day we were counting like what all. So far we in the last 1 year attended almost 35 marriages.
Okay.
So so kept on attending and keeping in touch with some of the seniors and some who have been very instrumental and dear friends
Very nice.
who
Very
have been
nice.
there.
It is.
So that is there. Maybe a little bit of work, and possibly I will work in the area of technology and technology crimes. Possibly a little bit of work I would do.
We definitely need people like you to help us going forward, especially with regards to cybercrime. I'm sure you have already plans on this or something on those lines. So we look forward to your contributions on that line. So coming to the end of our conversation, we will shift a little bit gears to a rapid fire kind of session. So I wouldn't ask you any deep questions. It will be very simple. So a book that has influenced your life, anything that comes to your...
I used to read a lot of books, and till in the last 1 year I'm trying to catch up with my reading, but not yet successful in coming back to. But one, if you ask me one book, yeah, maybe Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning. The experience in the...
It's very impactful and insightful, and also with deep human connection.
Yes. A place in Karnataka that is very fondly remembered, when you stayed or worked.
Two places. One is Bijapur and the other is Karkala. Bijapur for the reason that I was a probationer there, and then I went as a district of the undivided Bijapur district, which present day Bijapur and Bagalkot. And we have very fond memories of the place, and the fond memories of the very historical house in which is a like 400-year-old Adil Shahi building in which the SP lives even today.
Okay.
So we lived there, and we had very pleasant memories there.
Okay.
And then Karkala is the second place, or that is where I was ASP.
Okay.
So we have very fond memories of the place.
Next question. An underrated skill of a police officer that the public needs to know.
And I think being nice, that's it. I think people, I don't know, do people expect officers to be, they demand that they should be nice when they interact, but I think the popular perception is that police are not nice. So when you interact, so when they go to interact, they think that he should have behaved nicely, they would say. But the popular perception is, okay, they are not. So I think...
It's an underrated skill.
I think so.
Okay. A technology that you're excited for the future.
This is what everybody speaks, it's cliched, AI.
AI.
But
anything in specific there?
I don't know like where, so I keep reading, so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of it, but I think the AI and the related developments, quantum computing, and basically I think it's now both, it cuts both ways. Now, as a professional former law enforcement officer, I'm worried about the downsides of it, but at the same time, how it can bring in humongous amounts of positive changes.
So thanks a lot, sir. I would just like to ask you last question. Is there anything that we have not covered in this conversation?
I think you asked a lot of things. I don't know how far I have been able to answer majority of the questions, but I have been truthful to the extent saying that I was trying to be have a lot of clarity in not clarity. I don't know like whether I'm with clarity I spoke, but this is what I am. What I spoke is what I am.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. In fact, a heartfelt thanks for joining us on the Luminary Lounge podcast, sharing your insights. If I'm not mistaken, you have shared wonderful insights on empathy, compassion, integrity, ethical service, hard work, which you personify. Having read about you, having spoken to you, you personify. Starting your career as an engineer, then moving to the highest ranks of the police force, and still continuing to contribute in many ways to the society. I think you are actually a treasure to the society. And having served in our state, Karnataka, on behalf of the entire state, people, I would like to thank you for all the service that you have provided. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And this is the first time I ever participated in a podcast. Leave aside this, I have not sat in front of a camera for so long at all. Even like whatever, as senior police officer, as commissioner of police, if I sat in front of a room full of press reporters, but that is where we tell the developments and a few questions come, but this is more, you literally grilled me on many aspects. I don't know how much sense my answers make. I'm not very sure. But grateful to you for inviting me and allowing me an opportunity to share some of the thoughts. I don't know, I can call them as insights, but my experiences.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to all our listeners, viewers, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your valuable time in listening to insights from Mr. Pratap Reddy, IPS. If you like this, kindly share it with your loved ones, friends, and do not forget, of course, to subscribe to our channel. And as we say, till the next episode, stay curious and stay shining. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, wonderful, sir.